When you feel all alone in this world and there's nobody to count your tears, just remember no matter where you are, Allah knows. Allah knows. When you're carrying a monster load and you wonder how far you can go.
Also, during his life, they asked him for a miracle. They said, if you are a prophet, show us a miracle. We want you to ask the Creator to split the moon in front of our eyes. So he supplicated and asked Allah, the Creator, the Lord of the universe, to split the moon for them so that they can see it and believe. And what happened? What happened was that the moon was split. They saw it with their own eyes. They even asked those of them who were on a business trip to Syria, have you seen the moon split on that night? They said, yes, we saw it with our own eyes. Everyone saw it. Everyone saw the moon split in front of them. And this was one of his miracles. Also, one of his miracles was that 1400 years, he was able to travel from Mecca to Palestine and pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque and go up to the heavens and come back all at one night. And this was one of the greatest miracles that he was given. Peace and blessings be upon him. And they asked him, when he told his companions and the word spread and the disbelievers heard the story as well, they started questioning. And now we're sure you're a liar. You're saying you traveled from Mecca to Palestine at one night and you came back. He also traveled to the heavens. But they were just questioning this particular journey from Mecca to Palestine. So he said, yes, that's what happened. So they said, okay. And some of them had actually traveled to Palestine. And they know how the Aqsa Mosque looks like. So they started questioning and asking him about details in the Masjid al-Aqsa, in the mosque, in the Aqsa Mosque. So he described to them the places they were asking about, the door, how it looks like, how the masjid or the mosque looks from inside, and they started asking him. And they know for sure he never went there, because it was like Mecca was a small city. Everyone knows everything about everybody else. So he described, so they were impressed. And they said between them, they didn't confess that, or they didn't tell that to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, because they continued on their disbelieving. So they said, he's saying the truth. He actually saw it. He actually went there. And that was one of his miracles, peace and blessings be upon him. The last thing we're gonna talk about is the legislation that he came with. The legislation that he came with is one of the miracles that proves his prophecy, and that is continuous. At our day, people are going into Islam, and if you ask a lot of them about the reasons for that, they say that they find in Islam, or they find the teachings of Islam very close to human nature. And as all of you might, or some of you might know, Islam is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that describes everything that has to do with the human life, from his birth till his death. It describes and teaches the rulings that rule the human life as a whole. What to do in every particular and small detail of your life. How to live your life. That's Islam. So, the legislation, the Sharia law, comes with rulings that are very close to human nature, to the natural disposition. And this makes a lot of people go into Islam every day, when they find that it's very close to the human nature. And that's a miracle that is continuous, and that everyone sees with his own eyes at our day, and before, and in the future, inshallah. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was a prophet and a messenger that was sent by the Lord of the universe, the Creator. We are sure of that. And every day, new Muslims are coming into Islam because they find in Islam the true religion. They find that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was, as was said historically about him and as was said by his people, he was the honest and he was the truthful. That was his image in the heads of all the people of Mecca. 40 years until it was revealed to him, until the revelation came to him, they called him the honest and the truthful. All the people of Mecca believed that this person was the honest and the truthful. And when he came with the revelation, because they didn't accept and they disbelieved, they started calling him a liar. They started calling him he's dishonest, and so on and so forth. And with this, the answer to this question.
When you feel all alone in this world, and there's nobody to count your tears, just remember.
كمان من معجزاته صلى الله عليه وسلم انشقاق القمر. فقد ثبت ان القمر انشق ايام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، وحصل ده لما طلب المشركون من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ان يريهم آية. فسأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الله عز وجل خالق الكون، فانشق القمر ورأوه بأعينهم. وده كان من المعجزات المبهرة اللي جاء بها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، حتى ان ابن كثير ذكر ان المؤرخون أرخوا لليلة دي بليلة انشقاق القمر، لأنه شوهد في أكثر من مكان في العالم انشقاق القمر. وكمان من معجزاته صلى الله عليه وسلم الإسراء والمعراج. فقد أسري بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وانتقل من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى، ثم عرج به إلى السماء حتى وصل إلى سدرة المنتهى صلى الله عليه وسلم. والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كما هو معلوم كان عايش من 1400 سنة. لم يكن هناك ثورة المواصلات، ولم يكن فيه التقدم في المواصلات الموجود دلوقتي، حتى أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما طلبوا منه أن يصف لهم المسجد الأقصى وصفه لهم صلى الله عليه وسلم، ودي من معجزاته. كمان من معجزات، بل من أعظم معجزات النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الشريعة الموجودة بين أيدينا. فهي شريعة صالحة مصلحة لكل زمان ومكان، وكل يوم بيخش ناس في الإسلام لما بيجدوا في هذه الشريعة قرب لفطرهم. فالشريعة قريبة جدا للفطرة، فطرة الإنسان، فهي صالحة مصلحة لكل زمان ومكان.
When you feel all alone in this world and there's nobody to count your tears, just remember.
I was told by someone, if Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was a messenger that called people for goodness and that called people for all characteristics of morality and called people to be righteous and pious, why did Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, marry a girl who is 9 years old? And the answer to this question is basically, this differs from one society to another. Meaning, it differs. There are some societies that look at this kind of marriage as being out of their norms. For example, at our present day, there are some countries which you find in their cultural norms, marriage is at the age of 18. Others, or other countries, you find their cultural norms, marriage is at the age of 21. So if we look at those societies, we would find that there is a difference in the norms of the society between the age of marriage. So I would like you to imagine 1400 years ago, the norms of the society was of course different. And during the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, the norms of the city that he was brought up in was that it's normal to marry a girl at this age. And let's move it on a little bit. If we think 30 years in the future, maybe the norms of your society will be that marriage is at the age of 35 or 40. This is the norms of this society in the future, 30 years in the future, after 30 years. So, can people at this time look at us living now whose norms are marriage or marrying at the age of 18 or 20 as being committing something that is totally or falsehood, as being pedophiles? Can we look, or is it accepted that they look at us marrying at the age of 18 or 20 as being people on falsehood or pedophiles? No, it's not accepted. The same thing goes for people who lived 1400 years ago. It's not accepted to look at their cultural norms as being false, because this is their cultural norms. Even at our time, there are certain groups, such as the Gypsies, who live in parts of Europe. They marry at the age of 10 and 12. And this is considered their tradition. And nobody considers them as committing something or violating the laws, because this is their tradition, this is their norms. If we add to this a very important point, which is sometimes people at the age of 9 are grown up enough to be even bigger in size, and their bodies has grown so that they are as old as a person who is 20. And you see this. You see a boy who is 9 years old, he has the body of a man that is like 20 years old. The same thing goes for what we are describing. 1400 years ago, a 9-year-old girl was a grown-up woman. It differs from time to time. So first of all, the norms, the cultural norms differ. Secondly, the bodies, the human body differs. The growth and the development of the human body differs from time to time, from country to another. Also, we add to this a very important point. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, married at a girl at this age. But this, as I told you, was the society's norms. And girls at that time and at this age were young women, were grown-up women. We add to this a very important point, which is that Islam accepts this cultural norm and does not force people to do this. That's a very important point. Islam does not force and say it's a part of faith to marry at young age. It's not. Instead, it depends on the cultural norms, and it depends on the girl and the female herself, if she's a grown-up woman, and it also depends on the need. If this girl that is grown up needs to marry or not. If she needs to marry, then Islam makes it permissible to marry at this age, if she needs that. And if she's grown up, and if this is the cultural norm, and this is something that is clear in Islam.
When you feel all alone in this world, and there's nobody to count your tears, just remember.
من الأسئلة اللي كثيرا ما بتسأل في الغرب: لماذا تزوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ببنت عمرها 9 سنوات؟ ولازم نكون عارفين كلنا الإجابة عن السؤال ده، لأنه سؤال شائع جدا وبيتسأل كتير. والإجابة: أولا، النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان عايش في زمن غير الزمن اللي احنا عايشين فيه. دي حاجة. الحاجة التانية، عادات الناس في الزمن ده مختلفة عن عادات الناس في الزمن اللي احنا فيه، بل في الزمن الواحد قد تختلف عادات الناس باختلاف الأمكنة. فعادات الناس في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إن مثل هذا الزواج مقبول، كان الزواج المبكر ده مقبول عندهم، وعشان كده فعلوا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولما جه الإسلام أباح أو ترك تلك الزيجات مباحة على عادة العرب، ولم يتدخل الإسلام في مثل هذا الزواج ولم ينهى عنه. دي حاجة تانية. كمان احنا لو بصينا دلوقتي في الزمن اللي احنا عايشين فيه هنلاقي ان بعض الطوائف موجودين الى يومنا هذا بيتزوجوا في مثل هذا السن المبكر. دي واحدة. تاني حاجة، نمو البنات، نمو الفتيات بيختلف من مكان لمكان. ففي أماكن بيكون نمو الفتيات فيها سريع، فبتصبح البنت امرأة بسرعة جدا أو في سن مبكر جدا. دي تاني حاجة. تالت حاجة، إن الإسلام لم يوجب مثل هذا الزواج، إنما أباحه، لأن الشريعة صالحة مصلحة لكل زمان ومكان، فيجب أن تسع طباع الناس واختلافهم وتنوعهم، وعشان كده الإسلام أباح مثل هذا الزواج. وبده تكون تمت الإجابة عن السؤال ده.
When you feel all alone in this world and there's nobody to count your tears, just remember no matter where you are, Allah knows. Allah knows. When you're carrying a monster load and you wonder how far you can